Alrighty. Hey everybody, welcome to House of Holocrons episode 26. So happy to have you all here. We'll of course be going over the two episode drop for the Bad Batch that just happened this last Wednesday and the speculations now as this was a very good set of episodes that definitely set up kind of a lot of craziness that's going to be happening in the later parts of this show. Uh, there will, of course, be spoilers, but we won't go directly to the end yet, even though that's what, oh my gosh, I need to talk about. But anyway, first episode was, which one was that one? I don't even have a list for me. Clone
It's, I believe,
Conspiracy?
Clone Conspiracy.
Yeah,
It's
clone,
it's
yeah.
kind of the setup, and then the kind of politicalness of the episode.
Yeah.
Um, we see some returning characters,
Chuchi.
Chuchi and the actually the other senator that speaks out first. It's a female. She speaks
Mm,
out for Senator Organa. She actually is from Rogue One.
okay.
She speaks kind of out against when they're trying to like do their little mission thing. She talks about how like it's kind of stupid, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But she's most known for that, and she's I think something else. I don't quote me on that. I don't.
Yeah.
I think she's in something else.
I've always said it's crazy how the alien races pushed so hard too, and it really shows it in this episode
Yeah.
how hard they pushed to make Palpatine's empire become a thing, and like how much he, I guess, like had tricked all of them. Because then, of course, every alien species after the empire takes over becomes second rate.
Well, the banking clan, they kind of have a reason why they're pushing so hard
Yeah.
because they're originally part of the separatists, and it's kind of the deal they made. It's like they he gave them basically, you support everything I do, or
Hmm.
we're just gonna shut you down.
And of all the
And
things, the banks are still, even in the Star Wars universe, the one thing that are almost, I wouldn't say untouchable, but you don't want to mess with them too much because your money's in there too.
yeah, they
Oh,
like I said, they were part of the separatists, and they helped fund a lot of the
yeah.
separatist stuff. That's just one of the things that Palpatine decided to keep around. And you could take the money for yourself, but it's a lot easier if you have somebody managing all the funds like that. So
Right, and we get to see it was it not, it starts with an S. What is that clone's name? There are two clones who we only get the one of them we did see actually in the
oh
finale
yeah,
of Camino being destroyed. Slip,
yeah.
I believe.
Slip is one of them. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
Slip was
think
the one
he's
that
one
is
of the
named.
guys first.
Slip is the one who lives. The other one I don't think he was named. I don't think the other one was even named at all that I know of or remember.
Well, before we get onto that, one thing I found out that this is actually almost a sequel episode. There's actually a Clone Wars episode called Clone Conspiracy.
Okay.
That's the
Hmm.
episode where they have the clone that his inhibitor chip goes off early, and he tries to kill Jedi. His good soldiers follow orders. It's kind of leading up to what we saw in the Bad Batch. That's where Fives kind of finds out, and he tries to get rid of his chip, and
Yeah.
then Rex eventually finds out. And this is kind of a sequel to that, where it's um, the clone conspiracy, but a different one. But yeah, that one is mostly about the activation and the leakage of Order 66.
Right. Whereas this one's going to be mostly about trying to the Empire's 86ing the clones and just really trying to get rid of them entirely. The Empire, as much as like, it's not even because they're aging out, they still had a lot of younger clones at this time, and they could have kept having clones. They just chose they would rather have a conscription army because it's a bit cheaper. It's far easier to maintain because these are, AKA, loyal. They were reprogrammed. It was only the first little, like, I don't know how long, maybe the first great like big fight with Death Star 1 and 2. Those stormtroopers, a lot of them did actually like sign up to be a stormtrooper to some degree. But after that, they were all like kidnapped.
Yeah, it was a program that because they realized eventually people aren't going to sign up because at
Yeah.
the beginning of the empire was all a patriotic movement, and people thought they were doing the right thing because they could use the clones anymore, so they wanted to sign up to help. Um, and the interesting thing about the clones is because we have those guys that were that immediately followed orders out destroying
Mm-hmm.
Camino, and so we're seeing clones starting to wake up, which is interesting because that's not even part of his Sidious's plan.
Yeah.
His real plan to get rid of the clones is they're just too expensive, and he wants to fund the Death Star.
Well, that's yeah, exactly.
So
It's all about the Death Star. That's even why like Stormtrooper armor is always supposed to be worse than Clone Trooper armor, and not that it's like worse per se, but it was just more corners are cut. It's cheaper.
yeah, I mean, you can kind of see that it's worse because even in like the Clone Wars, you see like clones will are a lot more sturdier.
Yeah.
The training is a lot more advanced. They know how to handle themselves,
Oh yeah.
and the
Their
weaponry are
weaponry,
better.
way more weaponry instead of just the E11 blaster that like every
And even
Stormtrooper gets.
and there was more variance. There was more focus training. There was more vehicles and actually good
Oh,
vehicles.
so many vehicles.
So yeah, the budgets were cut because eventually I guess he thought he could just rule the galaxy by threatening to blow blow planets up.
Right. Well, and so he had that plan, but then secretly he had the other plan where he had Star Destroyers that had the same weaponry. He's like, because it's just Palpatine. That's what he does. He likes to blow up planets. That's just his thing. And like at least in the expanded universe, it made a little bit more sense because it was apparently he was supposed to be protecting everyone against the Yuzong Vong because he kind of had this weird feeling that something really evil was coming this way. But
Yeah,
that's all gone. That's just expanded universe now. So now it's just Palpatine really liked to blow up planets. Like that was
yeah.
his whole thing.
It's a good thing and a bad thing to have that because you're starting to justify somebody evil, but it's
Mm-hmm.
also interesting plot point because you're not only it's not that you're justifying them, it's kind of like you're starting to like the necessary evil type
Right.
situation.
Yeah. The path to hell paved in gold and good intentions. Um, but yeah, no, I think even before talking too much about Slip and them again, but there was a we got to see like a clone bar. It almost seemed like there was
Yeah.
just this entire little cantina that was just for all the off-duty
Well,
clones and
we've seen this before a little bit in Clone Wars, and actually in Rebels, which I found I was trying to research because I was like,
mm-hmm.
one thing that set me off is the uniforms. I'll get into that, but there
Okay.
were some designs from the bar that was actually used as Rex's logo in Rebels,
Oh,
the bar, which is
nice.
named after the Clone 99 thing. Um, but yeah, the off-duty uniforms, I don't remember ever seeing those
Mm.
before. I was like, the first thing I thought is seeing all those uniforms. Like, man, 501st is gonna enjoy this.
True.
'Cause-
And it looks very you can kind of see how it's evolving into the imperial like cap and dress shirt and slacks. It's kind of what they were wearing to a degree, but it definitely had more of that Clone Wars vibe. But the hat looked pretty similar to me. um, it was interesting to see the off duty and then some still in armor, kind of like they had just gotten off duty or about to go on or something.
I love to see because we also kind of got that in Andor, where we
Mm-hmm.
got the kind of dressed down uniforms of stormtroopers. It's fun. It's fun and it's easier on a cosplay perspective because there's some events you may not want to wear your armor in, or
Yeah.
you want to have everybody in armor.
Right.
So you can have like people behind like that talk with people, and they can be the dressed down version. They don't have
Right.
to
So
necessarily
they
be an
can sit and
officer.
move easier.
Yeah, and also it's more realistic. They didn't wear
Mm-hmm.
their armor they didn't go to the bar
Right.
in their stormtrooper armor.
I've always loved it
But
with even in the Battle of Hoth when I saw Admiral Piet, or no, was it Veers that was in the AT-AT?
yeah,
Yeah, but he had the battle helmet, he had the breastplate on, and then he had his normal admiral's outfit, and that looked awesome. I thought that was really sharp looking, but again, it's still all based after uh, they who shall not be named, a group of bad people who did bad things. Um, but Slip and the other clone are definitely coming to their own and realizing what they did by blowing up Camino was a bad thing. What a surprise! And I wouldn't say they're afraid for their life, but they're paranoid. Or it wasn't Slip so much; it was paranoid. It was the other one. Slip's kind of telling him to calm down. That didn't work out so well because they're leaving the bar, and one of them, the unknown clone, is shot down right there. Slip gets away, and then he spirals into calling for help. I thought he was honestly going to talk to Cody. I thought that was going to be kind of where we saw Cody come back in. But then seeing Rex, that made more sense because I was like, okay, that's how they do it from the trailer, where Rex calls them in to do something and to help him out.
well, I was just double checking. The funny thing is the episode where this bar was first mentioned is actually the original clone conspiracy in Clone Wars.
Oh, really? So it's
Yes, where
it like
Fives
poetry. It rhymes.
met up with his like contact person.
Okay, that's awesome. So it's just like this bar is constantly steeped in clone conspiracy.
Yeah, and then yeah, they find the two clones where they discuss
Mm,
like, hey, this was kind of, messed up what we
right,
did. And the other guy's like, no, we gotta stick with what we're doing, what we're trained to do is what we are. And
right.
then of course, we find out, well, he gets sniped,
By an unknown assassin, who at
and
first
then
I thought might have been like maybe a way for them to tie in like Boba or some other bounty hunter,
yeah,
but
I was like, it sounds like they're trying to show Crosshair, but
yeah,
that doesn't seem like Crosshair. And
because
plus,
he's
he's
not
still
hitting.
missing.
Yeah, he's missing a lot.
It's like as much as he's missing, Crosshair shot down the tank barrel. He shot a tiny little mirror flying through the air off
Yeah,
another mirror. So it's like no way he'd be missing this much.
right. Yeah, Crosshair would have taken them both out immediately, no problem. So I already knew when I saw the missing, I was like, okay, it's not Crosshair. He didn't. Yeah, that would have he would have hit both of them in one shot, done.
And you would see it take his helmet off.
Yeah.
Take his helmet off.
So that's kind of then cuts away because he's going to be asking for help. Senator Tucci Rio is really trying to help push the clone bill to get them to have like health care and a life and be like
Yeah.
equal and voting rights and stuff like that
Talk
because they
about
don't have
hitting
any of
home.
that. Yeah.
Hitting home not only for treating, a group of people, showing that they have the same rights as other people, but also veterans.
Yeah.
Not only that, but minority veterans too.
Mm-hmm.
That was a thing too during World War II and World War when uh, we had uh, not only white soldiers were actually allowed. We had Native Americans, we had
Yeah.
African Americans,
Right.
we had all these people, but they would come home, and not only was the veterans not getting the same support, but these minority groups were not getting anywhere this
Mm-hmm.
close to the same support. And some groups, like we had the Red Tails, and you had the Code Talkers, were famous for actually helping change the course of the war, just like the clones.
Yeah.
And yet they do so much, they literally changed the tide of the war, but they literally came home to discrimination, hate, no benefits to fall
Right.
back on, and understanding that from a perspective of, I have a little taste of it,
Mm-hmm.
from when I served. It's a huge part of your life that's gone, and you never fully leave the battlefield. Even when you hear this, like, we got to go back to the battlefield because that's their life, that's what they
Right.
know, and you can't just expect them just to jump in a factory like it's nothing. It's just something that's literally, it's not like a job you can just shut off part of the day.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally for that time. It's your life.
Right.
So these guys, they're still, even the human aspect of them. They're still so. That's all they are, and that's all they know. So it's, yeah, it's there's a lot of hit, a lot of deep, um, things they're actually hitting with this episode, and they may not be intending to, but and
But it
it's
hit.
awesome that
Yeah.
they're covering it, because you gotta wonder, the clones that aren't instantly, being killed,
Yeah.
um, how are they, surviving? Do they get any? Are they treated like citizens?
Because we see Obi in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, the 501st guy, and he's
Yeah.
not doing good. So obviously nothing's gonna be to come out of it. And they'll tie it up pretty well by the end of this. But for right now, before we get too far into the weeds, we then do also have the fact that uh, you can kind of tell that Rampart is trying to like use this as his baby. He wants the clones gone so he can cover up for the fact that what he did. Like full snake in the grass, just like don't tell anyone what happened. We're just gonna,
As he's Every time he turns around, he's being like, "Hurry up!
yeah,
We gotta get this bill through."
right. Which the senators are fighting a lot, and that's the whole
Yeah.
point. And then that's kind of what is it? This is it even in the second episode that the Bad Batch even shows up at all, or is it all like the first episode's just
Um,
set up, right?
I think they show up in the second.
Yeah.
Um,
So we
we
have
get Rex at the end of the first one,
yeah,
and he's, for some reason, I don't remember. him having blonde hair, but I guess he I don't I missed that part. It looks like he has bleached hair in the
Or he had
show.
yeah, he had bleached hair, like even in his when it was short, but at the same time, I
I just don't remember
didn't
it
even
this
notice
like
it.
prevalent.
Yeah,
I I
I never noticed it that much, but it doesn't. Let's see. But so a lot happens though with Senator Chuchi trying to help the clones
yeah.
to escape and be safe and to testify
We
against Rampart, which of
we get to see
course the assassin,
assassin
yeah,
angle.
the assassin will then continue to try and kill Senator Chuchi and does succeed in killing the clones. But we find out when Rex helps the senator that it is a clone himself. Like there is a clone
Yes.
assassin.
Is this the secret? Wonder if there's more of these. Did he have these all along that not even the clones knew
Hmm.
about? They had no number. They had, they were these secret assassins that he has. So
I
will
wonder
we
if
see
this is
more of them?
like with Crosshair. I wonder if that's what they did to these clones as well. If they amped up their inhibitor chip,
Maybe.
because I know they tested it on Crosshair and it worked. So if you want to make really loyal assassins, just amp
It
up the
is
inhibitor.
a strange line for him to say, "I'm a believer" at the end.
And then he bites down on a
Yeah, but what does he believe in? He
yeah,
can't say that in
right.
private.
Yeah,
That seems really cheap. It almost seems like there's something else to it.
right. Like he was saying something else, but who knows? And then he just chomps down on a device that electrocutes him to the point where he is kaput.
I I really hope we don't end it here with these guys. I
Hmm.
hope that we see a couple more.
Oh, these like
And
extreme
not just
loyalists.
or just like these assassins that are just these hardcore programmed. They don't seem like they're super elite. They
Yeah,
seem pretty decent. It'd just be interesting to see them again.
right. That's a good point. It's definitely interesting because they are so loyal to this idea, and maybe it's an idea we don't even know about. Maybe, like you said, I believe maybe there's some like weird clone cult that'd be kind of interesting. Uh, Rex
Yeah, I mean,
saves Chuchi though, and then that's kind of where he then sends the message out to the Bad Batch, like, "Hey man, we need help. There's stuff going down here."
having a brainwash cult would be
Hmm.
very beneficial for his future cloning endeavors.
Yeah,
Which we do see a Sith cult in the sequels.
right.
So
The
maybe
Eternal Sith.
maybe it's connected. That's kind of grasping at straws, but
They're gonna do
um,
whatever they can to connect it, right? I mean, they kind of have to.
I mean, the writers of the show are really spitting in the face of the audience because we get the second episode at the beginning. We see
Hmm.
um, Omega meditating like a
Yeah.
Jedi.
Oh, dude, yeah.
I was like, really?
Now they're just like, she's force sensitive, maybe. Because then
They're
he's like,
like,
"Oh, do you
yeah.
enjoy that?" She's like, "No, I don't even know what I'm doing really." I'm like, "God dang it!" I was hoping she's gonna be
Well,
like, "It's
even
weird."
if it's just something Jedi do, and I'm like,
Yeah,
she's gonna keep meditating, and you're just gonna see something floating.
right.
They're really setting it up for something because there's no way they would just do that. Oh, I'm just starting to meditate because I saw a Wookiee do it. No,
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, that's why you are doing it, but
but it's still it means something. Like, and these both of these episodes were directed and like helped with Dave Filoni himself. So like that's why I was like, this is gonna. There's usually a lot of lore and a lot of like storyline dumped when Dave Filoni does an episode now, when he's not just overlooking everything. Um, but yeah, the second one's definitely where everything really picks up and all the action's going to start going off. Things are going to start going really, really crazy, uh, and then get really, really sad. But we have they arrive. They pretty much realize they're going to Coruscant, which I love their reaction. They're like, no, let's not go to Coruscant. That sounds like a dumb idea." Omega, of course, has no idea what it is.
yeah, we get kind of the build up where they starting to get involved.
Mm-hmm.
We also get the tensions getting tighter and tighter. It goes back and forth. The Senate, or Chi-Chi's, by the way, she's a terrible spy. She's sick being a senator.
Yeah, that's true.
Um,
She is not a good spy.
we see her do some dumb things, but gets back. She's like, "Hey, get this evidence and meet me." And so it's kind of this whole tense moment where they're building up. And of course,
They have to get the evidence. Yeah, of course it's on Rampart's Venator, which is heavily guarded.
Rampart's. So he is a very good, you know, manipulator. Um,
He's trying to be Tarkin, but he's not.
well, he's very good at gaslighting.
Yeah.
That's what I can get him. Other than that, he kind of sucks. He's not. He's basically like, "Hey, I'm your friend, guys. I'm gonna help you out." And because Chi Chi meets him in the office, and
Yeah.
she kind of hints at it. I'm like, stupid, you're gonna die.
Yep. Now he's
Don't
gonna
do
kill you.
that.
He's immediately gonna kill you now if you talk
I'm
about it too
sur-
much.
I'm surprised she made it.
Yeah, I am
I was
too.
expect yeah, I was
I
expecting her
yeah,
to die.
I really did not
Which
expect her to survive this one.
they tried with the assassin.
Yeah,
Um, and then we get them invading the Venator. At the same time, we go back to the Senate because it's again building the tension. Where they gotta hurry.
yeah.
Um,
They're about to pass the bill.
there's what
They've finally accused Rampart though of being the person who signaled the fire and like
yeah.
destroyed Camino.
Well, I will get handed to him. I'm tired of seeing Palpatine, but man, was that an entrance? If you're gonna make an entrance to the
Yeah,
Senate, it literally slowly rise out from the floor and like this whole it was actually pretty awesome.
right. Because they do, of course, get the evidence, take it back to the Senate, show that Rampart did exactly do that. Everyone is
How do you not know
aghast
this
and
guy's?
oh.
I did not know this guy's evil. That was such an evil entrance.
And the way he talks,
And
but then at the same time, I love Palpatine as a villain. I hate him as a Sith, whatever. But dang it, I love him even more as just a villain because he's always ahead of everything. He goes, "This is exactly what I wanted. Cool." And now the clones, you can see, are a problem because they're so willing to do these evil atrocities against their own kind. So we should get rid of them, and we're gonna now go to stormtroopers. All right, bye everybody.
yeah,
Oh man,
he's a master
he's so
puppeteer. He's a master planner. Other than that, I don't think he's that strong.
right,
I mean, we seem like I said, I kind of mentioned to you. I mean, the fact that he dies so easily from Vader, he gets this, you don't really see him fight too well
right.
ever, and
Except
that's the
for
thing.
against Mace Windu. When he was before he got all zippity zapped and old, he was apparently a great fighter.
Well, I don't know if I would consider that because Mace Windu really wasn't going full on because he was still kind of the chancellor at the time. I
We got
think,
he has
yeah,
to be going hard though because we're not all about to be like Kit Fisto, Eth Koth, and all those. Yeah, they were all just punks because he went through them like nothing.
yeah.
But no,
Um,
man, I would give anything just to see a world where that dude wasn't a Sith Lord, or I don't know, just any like something different, just where like Anakin could have been like actually like himself, didn't have to do the whole Vader thing.
but yeah, of course,
100%.
but
Oof.
it was such a strong move.
Hmm.
Basically, Palpatine set up a no lose scenario for himself.
Yep. Either the bill
Um,
passes and it passes, or he can make Rampart a scapegoat, get him
yeah,
arrested.
and probably wanted to get rid of him anyways.
Yep.
So,
He was too uppity. He was trying to be the next
and
Tarkin.
he's a loose end on
Hmm.
the Camino situation.
Right.
Yeah, and and he's failed before. Um,
Yeah.
and
It was nuts to
yeah,
see that. I did not expect it to play out that way at the end. I knew things were going to be weird, but I didn't know exactly how it was going to go. And he immediately was able to jump over any bills for the clones.
I will
No
say
aid,
that
no help.
that's one of the probably the coolest that we've seen Palpatine.
Yeah.
We don't usually get too many moments, usually because he's not in the front of his
Right.
master plans. But yeah, that was pretty slick what he did.
Well, and we got to see his henchman, his right hand man. I know his name and I immediately forgot it. Of course, I was trying to bring it up, but
You talking about is the guy who represents him?
yeah, the blue
Uh,
dude. The I can't even remember
uh,
horns on both sides, but yeah, the because there's that, and then there is the
I guess
Umbaran, which what is her name? Her
the
name is
female.
Sly Moore is the female. That was the Umbaran. She's in the Vader comics, which have been ooh so good lately. This most recent Vader comic, which I'm doing a review over and a breakdown over here soon, was so good, so good, so good, so
I
good.
think it's a Mas. Yeah, it's Masamita.
Yeah, Masamita, that sounds right. But yes, Masamita is his henchman. We get to see a lot more of him in this talking to Rampart, warning him, and then like what happens, he's like, "All right, whoop, throw him out, bye." But
We don't
that's not even
normally
the
get to
worst.
see Masamita too much,
He
or
doesn't
actually
talk
do
very
stuff.
much.
He usually just follows Palpatine when
Yep.
we see him.
You only really get to
So
see him in the comics, so it was kind of nice to see him actually do stuff more in the like actual moving
yeah,
media.
yeah,
But then the really big thing, of course, at the end,
yeah,
the batch are getting ready to head out, saying all their goodbyes. Omega's confused as hell because
yeah.
they're also saying goodbye
We're
to
we're
Echo.
on the same page as Omega. Like, what
We're
the
like,
hell are you
what?
talking about?
And then by the third time, I heard like when Wrecker was just like, "Have food out there," and just
Yeah.
good time, have a good luck without us. I was like, wait a minute, oh my god! And then it finally
It
dawned on
makes
me,
yeah, it makes sense and it's awesome, but it's
it
like
was so
no, it's like we
sad.
don't want that to happen.
Oh, dude, it was so sad. It felt like a family was splitting up, even though Echo isn't a part of 99
Yeah.
exactly. But he was like, yeah, I'm gonna stay with Rex and help all these clones try to find safety. And Omega's heartbroken, and I'm just like, no, the Bad Batch. I loved
Yeah,
it, but it was so sad.
but I'm hoping this sets up future either episodes with just them or
Hmm.
another series of we
Yeah,
get Rex and Echo and whoever else is. But we
save
also we're
saving
still
all the
waiting for
clones.
what's his name?
Cody, we need
The
Wolf, Gregor.
the Gregor,
Yeah,
because Gregor should be a part of it too.
yeah.
So
But then what happens to Echo? What happens to Echo though? He's not with Rex.
I mean, if we know Echo, he's probably gonna die.
Does
Yeah,
he die or does he like run off and leave again once everyone's finally just old and crippled? I don't know. I don't want everyone to die, but they're probably going to. Like I'm not gonna kid myself.
so he probably ends up dying is what's gonna happen, and
Right.
then they're gonna take his dying body and they're gonna turn him into a droid, and then
Ooh,
he's gonna be the
fun.
droid from Episode 4 that blows himself up for R2D2 because he recognizes R2D2,
Yeah.
and then he eventually gets repaired, and then he helps out the Mandalorian
I love it. Yeah,
because
Echo
it's the same
becomes
droid.
that R5 droid has actually been
Yeah,
Echo this whole time almost.
yeah. Well, he's already a half droid at this point. Might as
Right.
well just go full send it.
Yeah, full
His
into
body
it.
gets so destroyed, you just turn him into an R5 unit, and
And we find out
he's
he's
like,
been the
he's like,
R5
he
unit this
looks
whole
over
time.
and he's like, he hears Luke Skywalker's name. He's like, he hear, he's like, he puts two and two together, and he sees R2D2 and C3PO. He recognizes him instantly from being around Anakin. He's like,
Yes.
I gotta blow myself up. I
I gotta
gotta
blow my
do something.
motivator. I gotta let R2 go to these people so they can save everyone and defeat the Empire. That would be so amazing if Echo becomes the R5. I love it. That's a new headcanon. I don't care. That is a new headcanon. The R5 unit is actually Echo. Full droid. Yes, that is
Right.
amazing.
He's an official character in the Mandalorian now. So
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So he's gonna become a lot more important. He has many more people to save and things to do. So
yeah,
it was a really good two episode.
it's it was a sad ending, but I
Yeah,
hope that this sets for either like a comic series or a book series or a show series. I don't know. We don't necessarily need a show series, even though I love both characters.
right.
Um, I mean, they're gonna always do one of these kind of animation shows, so they're gonna do something eventually. Um, but yeah, it'd be. I hope they do something. I think a novel series would be pretty interesting. The Adventures of Rex and Friends.
Adventure of Rex and Friends. I'd watch it, and it's a good way for people to still have their Clone Wars fix, and they can now move on and not touch the Clone Wars ever again. Like after all this next stuff is done, but you have your show right here. Here's your show. We're gonna talk about Wolf. We're gonna get to Gregor. We're gonna have what happens with Echo. What happens with Hauser. What happens with all of these random clones. I think we're still gonna see Hauser. I think because he was shown a bit in the trailer. I thought so. I wouldn't be surprised if we still see
Yeah.
Hauser sometime later in this
I
episode as
imagine
well.
they're gonna bump into him again.
Yeah.
Because they're yeah. So I guess the next couple episodes are gonna get the kind of random, what I still consider filler episodes.
Yeah, the random batch
Um,
stuff, and which would make sense because they're gonna have to fill out something. But I think we're getting close to March 1st, and it's gonna have to share a time with Mando, so it's gonna have to do something to make people still be like, "Hey, don't forget to still watch Bad Batch."
I'd really be really cool if they do like a Mandalorian episode. There's like a man they bump into a Mandalorian or Boba
Dude,
Fett.
yeah. What if episode 1 of Mandalorian there's just like a cameo where we see the Bad Batch in person, like they're just there.
Or just a clone in the background or something.
Yeah, you see Hunter.
Man. We're gonna get yeah. Hopefully, we don't have too much of a break in between after Mandalorian and the other shows
Yeah,
because I love having this much content, but having it all together, it's gonna stink when we're not gonna have anything else.
that is the other thing too. Is yeah, it's almost like I want to have it all because I want to see it all, but then at the
Yeah.
same time, I know I'll be hurting inside when it's over. There's no more Star Wars because it's a heyday right now where I constantly have stuff to talk about. But again, the comics and the books
Yeah.
are the filler for me to get me in between all the media content because they're pumping out books and comics right and left.
Yeah, they really are picking back up on it. We had kind of a drought for a while.
Yeah.
Um, the High Republic really helped push it back into life.
Hmm.
So it is nice that we get more of it, and it's glad they picked something like the High Republic because there's only so much you can write about the untold stories behind the that era
Well,
of
and that's the
media.
yeah, that's the problem because even the comics are still set in like the original era. This is set out. Mando was a little after the OG era, getting towards the
Yeah,
sequels. We're just there's so much happening in this small bubble of this huge timeline that eventually people are like, you got to watch out, or you're gonna start riding over each other's feet.
yeah. And there are gonna be some continuity issues. I mean, there kind of is here and there.
Yeah,
Um, and where we have to kind of like, no, no, we're rewriting this little bit. There's a little like with Obi-Wan was getting really close to stepping on some toes.
yeah,
Um, yeah, it's just that's gonna be something that's gonna happen when you bring Obi-Wan back in the light like that.
right.
Um,
And just in general, when you're
Young
bringing
got tired.
any of these characters, when they're all of a sudden thrown back, because yeah,
That's
I knew a lot
They're
of
gonna do a
people's their
show.
big thing with Obi-Wan was the fact that he was supposed to be the first time he sees him again was on the Death Star, but instead now we have this. But at least that one they did it to a way where you could still make it work. But yeah, you don't want to poke at
Yeah,
it too much, or eventually it won't work.
when you have these main characters return, it's really difficult to not have you know, especially when you have stories that were written a long time ago,
Yeah.
and try to make a fun, compelling story with kind of this return of the characters. We all wanted to see Obi-Wan return,
Hmm.
but yeah, it's difficult to have him return and not. I think adding that much of Vader, as cool as it was kind of very risky to do,
Yeah.
but it was
Oh
cool
man,
seeing Vader again.
it was those lines though. The end of Obi-Wan where he's like, "I am what you made me" and all that stuff. That monologues, that little like line share. Oh god.
The only thing that would have been cooler is if Ahsoka showed up and then you just had this whole like reunion between the three.
Oh man, just everyone meets back up. Mace Windu shows up too.
He just was see Mace Windu.
I know a lot of people are still really thinking that's going to happen. Like a lot of people are really still vying
Uh,
for the fact that Mace Windu will show back up.
Mace Windu's smart. He's gone. He's out of here.
Even if he is alive, you think he would just
Yeah,
leave?
he dipped. He's smart.
Yeah.
He ain't playing that game. He's like,
I,
I know. I saw Palpatine. I know what's going on.
yeah. I'm really surprised no one else is trying to touch the Chiss ascendancy right now though. Like we also have like all this unknown space.
Yeah,
No one's touching it. Like they really are just hyper focused on the same Star Wars we've all done. Like I don't know if it's because someone's afraid to do something new because they don't know if something new will flop. I don't really know what the purpose would be. It's just I feel like they could try something. Like there's so much unknown space. There's so much lore.
yeah. Well,
Again, I think the acolyte will again be the thing that's going to catalyst them to be able to go backwards. If it does well enough and people give two hoots about before Phantom Menace, that could really kind of like build a bridge for us to have more stuff like this.
yeah. Most of the stuff they're doing is either the in between, episode 3 and episode 4. The in between era of that, and then they're also doing the post episode 6 era. So that but you can only do so much of all that.
But then they also don't
There,
want to touch the sequels too much because then if they touch the
yeah,
sequels too much, like a third of the audience won't even watch it just because it mentions the sequels. It's a whole bunch of mess, but they really do need to put another thing out with some sequel characters that's really good because I think that will like take the bitter taste out of some of the other like fair weather fans, like kind of take that out of
I
their
think it'd
mouth.
be I think it'd be difficult with the actors involved because
Yeah,
they they're pretty. Some of them are pretty big actors now. Um,
true.
Doing that era honestly wouldn't be terrible to do. Um, if they did it good, it'd be like you said difficult because there's a lot of fans that would tune out of it
Yeah,
immediately. Um, but if they want to bring fans back for the new movies, they kind of need to.
Which I wouldn't be surprised if they use Mandalorian. The fact that like if Din
Yeah.
Djarin does become the Mandalore and they do start like rebuilding Mandalore and they do start becoming a culture again, I would not be shocked at all if they use that in the sequels as like the butter on the toast to be like, hey, see, it's good. It's got Mando in it. You guys love Mando.
Yeah.
It just also has Ray. Okay, and we're gonna have a good time.
I don't think they'll be able to do Ray. I think it'll be a lot harder. But I'm not saying I would hate
Yeah,
it. I think it would be a lot difficult for them to do. Um, you know, who knows? I think that would be smart for them, but it'd be very difficult. Mandalorian would
right.
be a good vessel to kind of usher that back in,
Mm-hmm.
because I think that they're gonna have a problem when they do the newer movies,
Yeah,
is getting people back into that era.
right. Yeah, 100%.
Because you got fans that will watch every movie, like me and you, but then there's still quite a bit of those loyal fans that still have that bad taste in their mouth from
right,
some of the
right.
sequel movies that they weren't very happy with. And so, yeah, you kind of have to, more than, even if you don't want to admit it, you you can't ignore, um, you know, because the movie will flop if it's not.
Yes. And you can't make it too crazy either because at the end of the day, there's so many other markets that the movie's trying to sell in. It still needs
Yeah.
to make money, which is why some of the decisions were made for the sequels that people didn't like because they were still like executives who were like, no, but this still needs to make a lot of money, so don't forget that. Like we need catches and nostalgia, and we need clickbaity, blah blah blah.
Yeah, post Mandalorian, I hope you start seeing more of,
Mm-hmm.
starting to expand into the High Republic style show, which like we have kind of we're kind of dipping our toes into with
Mm.
the Acolyte. And then we have some other stuff coming up. Um, one thing I didn't think I would ever find a more information about. Did you hear the book that's being announced for the kind of a sequel to Solo? Follows the, I forgot the character's name, the female character, follows her story.
Oh, the leader of Crimson Dawn,
Yeah, she's getting
Kira.
her own
Kira.
series now.
Oh, her own book or her
Yeah.
own? Oh wow, okay, that's awesome. I know we have another book I'm excited about is The Rise of the Red Blade, which is entirely about an Inquisitor, or I think the Inquisitors. So that's going to be an awesome book. We have if that one will be good. That actually sounds really fun. And then I'm trying to think what else there is in this era that's recently going to be coming out. Shadow of the Sith, I got it right there. I highly recommend that one. That's Lando Calrissian and Luke going to Exegol for the first time. That's how Luke finds Exegol, pretty much. It is a good, good book.
Yeah, I'll have to send you the announcements and stuff about it.
Oh, and it
I
was
just
it Jedi Fallen Order or Jedi Survivor before Jedi Survivor comes out. I think it's going to be Jedi Battle Scars, something like that. That's also a book that is going to be dropping very soon. I think in the next like month. I think like March 6th or something like that. I'll have to look that up. There's a lot of books getting ready to drop, and the books are honestly a place to find so much lore. It's kind of like the little hidden gems that it's the
it's gonna be,
reward that you get for reading books
yeah,
are
it's a
these
novel.
really awesome lore bits.
The novel series is going to be called, well, the first novel is going to be called Crimson Climb.
And that'd be cool to see how she climbs up to the top and trains underneath Darth Maul because they don't show any of that really that heavily in the comics. But the Crimson Reign and the Hidden Empire comics are awesome. Kira was a very formidable foe for a small little bit there against the Empire, so she thinks. But so far, Darth Vader's kind of been punking her. But I
Nice.
mean, it's not gonna. I'm
I'm
not
gonna post
surprised.
it in the chat so you can see the art.
Yeah.
Because it has
During the
art.
War of the Bounty Hunters phase, though, there was a really awesome few panels where even Vader himself admits that he's slightly impressed that Kira is able to hold her own to a degree against Vader because she was, of course, trained by Maul. They even like kind of mention, oh, she fights a lot like Darth Maul did. So Kira's an awesome character.
But
Uh,
this is supposed to be post Solo before, if I understand correctly.
right. So this
As
is
her ascension through the
That's what intrigues me the
Crimson
most.
Dawn.
Being a Sith fanboy is just knowing that Darth Maul will be in those books then, because Darth Maul will be the leader of Crimson
He
Dawn.
has to be, yeah.
Maybe if those books do good enough, they'll make it a freaking movie.
I still can't believe we're seeing continuation. I didn't think we'd ever get back into that.
Well, at least
I
that was like the
That's one
best
thing I
part. That
yeah.
that that last few moments where you see Darth Maul in that hologram and her there on that ship are like almost the best parts of the entire movie to me. There's so much emotion
You
just in
can't
that
drop the
moment.
Crimson Dawn and Darth Maul and be like, oh, that's it. We'll never see it again.
Right? Yeah, that's actually a really good way for them to do it is a book though, because it'll drop again. Books give you so much lore,
I
so
mean, they can
much.
do a series, but probably getting Amelia Clark right now would probably be very difficult.
Probably way, way more difficult. I mean, it's also Disney though; they have the money,
Yeah,
but I know a lot of those
I'd
actors
watch
have.
it,
Oh, I would totally watch it, but again, a
especially if
book
it's
makes it a lot
if they had
easier.
it to writing like Andor. Imagine
Yeah.
just
Well, and the Crimson Dawn is perfect because it's that gritty underworld mercenary gun for hire, and the way that Maul runs it versus the way that Kira will run it is extremely different. Like she's still ruthless, but she's way more
yeah.
cold and calculating. Whereas Darth Maul, of course, in his age and going nuts and being constantly beat up by Palpatine, he's just out for vengeance and power.
Having this series run, you know, as Kira the lead,
Mm,
and yeah, and a lot of people like Amelia Clark from Game of Thrones, so it'd bring a lot of people in for that. I mean, just be cool. See has kind of a rise up
yeah,
through Crimson Dawn, and of course, she has more of from the Sing Solo. She's not one to shy from some of the cloak and dagger
right.
aspects.
Oh, not at
So
all.
yeah, I think it'd be an awesome series to see. Not that I would say no book, but I'd also like to see
Right.
a show. Well,
Yeah.
we have the live action version of her. As much as I hate to continue in this era, if we did, that would be the way I'd want to see it.
Well, but again, that's a new enough idea that it's not a bad thing. The Crimson Dawn aspect of this, that's totally different. That kind of again
Mm.
reminds me like of the game 1313. Everyone was excited for that game and everyone wanted it, and they just scrapped it for whatever freaking reason.
We get to see some Outer Rim. We get to see. Oh, it'd be so good.
Right, and that's another thing that the
And
High
the Outer
Republic.
Rim right now strong because
Mhm.
with the the fall of the Republic, the in between, they're
You're
really
right.
weak right now. Um, that's the whole point of pushing for the stormtroopers and all these self defense bills is because the Republic's even though they won the war, they've gotten pretty weak. So
It's a lot of area to
the Outer
cover.
Rims groups are really growing at this. They're thriving at this point.
And that's why another thing, again, to harp about the High Republic, that's what a good thing about that is because the Outer Rim hasn't even been brought into the Republic yet. It's still pretty much wild space out there. That it's known, it's mapped, it's just not under their control. So I'm sure that's what the Acolyte will cover a lot of too, is just this outer rim chaos where it really is like the wild, wild west out there.
Yeah.
And yeah, again, even in the interim, like especially from Empire to First Order, from Republic to Empire, the second the Hut cartels and all those gangs had any lax over them, they immediately gobbled up as much as they could. And I'm sure the Mandalorians would have had they not been kind of decimated at the time. But see, that's the other thing. During like the Luke Skywalker times, what is going on with the Mandalorians? They're just like that there's so much backstory that season 3 could show us. And then in the sequels, what's going on? Where are they? Because they made them so prominent in Clone Wars and in Rebels and in the Old Republic stuff that it's like they they almost need to show back up, or else they need to just stop trying to make them so mythical and crazy.
Speaking of mythical and crazy and things like Mandalorians, did you see the announcement of the developer of Jedi Survivor talking about there's going to be a blaster stance? Did you
Blaster
see?
stance.
Yeah,
I did
that's
not.
so he has the new the stance where he switches between the dual blades and
Yeah,
two blades, and that's one of the things. The quote, which I have it here.
because I saw he has a blaster.
Yeah, he says he wanted to include a blast stance. Says that the crossguard blade will have a heavy yet measured and purposeful approach when equipped. This and then you have a stance for that's the stance for when to bring measured, hard hitting approach to the fight because he gets the cross guard. So
Yeah, which is
so
awesome.
apparently it's just a attachment. He attaches it to the saber,
It's so cool. I'm
and
so
then there's
ready for that.
and then he says there's going to be a blaster stance to encourage range attacks alongside your normal lightsaber strikes. Particularly notable since the original game is effectively melee combat. We don't see Jedi wield blades and blasters together, and broad Star Wars canon, never mind in games. And then they just talk about So
Yeah,
it's talking
that
about
sounds fun.
saber and blaster, so you shoot from a distance and then follow it up with melee.
I'm gonna use that Claymore big, huge longsword crossguard saber so much. That's probably gonna be my main play style, like 100%. I am so ready to use that crossguard saber.
Well, it reminds me of the old, like I said, not to bring up old games, but it reminds me of old Kyle Katarn because that's this
Yeah,
old in the old Jedi Outcast you could the Jedi games you'd switch between blaster and saber. You didn't get to hold both, but it seems like you can on this,
I mean that'd be really cool to
which
be
is
able to
cool.
hold both. Yeah, and it makes sense for these post Order 66 Jedi because they have to adapt. These are not the normal Jedi anymore.
They didn't sit through
This is
the temple
entirely
and
yeah,
play meditation and
right.
go through the whole fun classes.
You're living in a dark alley trying to survive, hoping you can get by. That's it. That's all you got.
And you get and you start getting. I still think one of the coolest ideas is Ezra's blaster
Mm-hmm.
lightsaber hilt.
Oh, that's why I can't wait to see Ezra come back. Because I feel like if
Oh
Ezra came back into this new sequel era that they're going to make for Star Wars in live action, he could change the lightsaber. The lightsaber could take on so many new adaptive ways if him and Rey and like Kylo Ren, the Ghost of Ben, all these other like, there's just so many things that they could reconfigure to make so many cooler lightsabers. But then again, High Republic, hey, what's up? They have shields. Like they're showing off that
yeah.
Jedi's have so many different ways to use Kyber than just a lightsaber.
Well, the Mandalorians have made shields before because they're used to fighting Jedi.
Yeah.
That's been a thing, so it would make sense that if there's a heavy war atmosphere for the Jedi, they should have shields as well.
Or
Eh,
like with Salandra Show, she chose a shield because she'd rather just be more defensive than attack. She would literally rather I'd rather protect people than hurt somebody.
Yeah. Um, Yeah, it's interesting. One thing I always want to say, probably the lightsaber hilt's probably designed canonically that it can't do that, but I've always wanted to see Ezra lock blades with like a Sith or like an Inquisitor and then shoot at the same time because he's like
Oh yeah.
point blank, he's like lock blades and pow, and just shoots him right there.
Well, that was the coolest thing about the Inquisitor's blade too, because they would like use it like that. Then all of a sudden they could also just bam, and then it would just like you could just turn that part off and twirl this part up. Like they were ruthless. They had no normal etiquette with lightsaber fighting. But then again, also in Rebels they could fly with it. So
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
I got the fifth brother figure, and I'm half tempted to get one of those stands so I can make him look like he's flying off with it. Because that was one of the most hilarious things I ever saw in the world. Because that dude's big, like that
It's
really
it's
tiny female
it seems
figure.
like
I
something
understand.
silly you would do with the action figures at home. And it's like these blades, they swing. What if he holds it up and just flies up like a
He
helicopter?
swings fast enough. He's like, do, 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 and he just flies away, man. I love it. I thought it was so hilarious the first time I saw it. I was like, there's no way they're doing that. They sure did. They sure did.
I mean, if I was an Inquisitor and I had the Force where I could, kind of launch myself in the air, I would do it to be silly. Pretend I'm
Yeah,
helicopter man. Go gadget, helicopter blade.
right. I think it was cool though, because also like for defense, because even in Fallen Order, it's the same thing when you have the dual-sided lightsaber out. You just spin it, and you can deflect all the lightsaber or all the blaster bolts easier. But the
Just
Inquisitor, that's again another book, The Rise of the Red Blade. That's going to be one I'm excited for to learn more about the Inquisitorium and
That's one thing I want to see
Inquisitors.
about the Inquisitors because they'll do the auto spin.
Hmm.
The one guy that has good aim and shoots it right in the middle and shoots hits their hand.
Right. Well, that's why I always loved like what almost everyone's done. I mean, oh, and Vader's was the best when Vader was fighting Reva. He just like grabbed it and was just like, "No, that's
Yeah,
mine now. Take it in half." But that's like the same thing that Kanan does. You just aim right for the hand and cut it in half. I mean, it's all
that's
you can
it.
really do. It's
That's
a
the weakness of the dual blade. If you how they fight like that when they
yeah.
fight like a quarter staff like that. if you don't, because you got to kind of use your. It's really hard because the whole purpose of having a weapons like this, you get the reach, but you can't really
Mm-hmm.
use it, and then you get that issue with um where you have that second blade, so you're always gotta watch that. I don't
Yeah.
know, just
Well, and their handle was so much smaller. That's why when you watch, like, even in Rebels, Darth Maul can just go through and punk all of them because he's like, you guys aren't even fighting with this at full optimal. Let me show you what two blades actually does because he has he has a much longer center grip to
still
hold
think
on to.
still think the curved blades. I mean, the curved handles are my favorite. I
Oh
watched
yeah.
somebody discuss about sword fighting when it comes to the lightsabers,
Mm-hmm.
and it's about the curved blade where you can switch from kind of a fencing style where it's tilted down,
Yeah.
or you can flip it around and fight like a saber style, because it's more of a almost a curved swing with it.
Yeah. No,
Um,
I love the Dooku or Bane style of hilt. That really nice, long, elegant
yeah.
grip, so you can have that really nice point. But at the same time, I would want a cross guard. Oh, dude, 100%. I would want a cross guard because that just makes it so much easier, especially now that we've seen him so much in High Republic, or
If
did like a
they're
big old.
developed right, um, which apparently the whole um Kylo Ren's wasn't necessarily for crossguard, it was
Yeah,
Vince.
yep, those are just Vince. He had
But if they
cracked his
actually have a
kyber
good
crystal.
crossguard, it makes sense. I mean, you
Yep.
would need one.
When you see Ben Solo's saber, it looks a lot like Kylo's, but when he took his crystal and bled it to make it a dark side crystal, he put too much into it and cracked it, so it has too much power. So yeah,
Yeah.
he needed vents on the side, but they work. Might as well use them, which he doesn't.
Yeah,
But that's just a part of the
it's so interesting when you look how the I know we get way off track with lightsabers, but it's
yeah.
interesting how the mechanics of fighting can change so different because you don't have an edge to worry about, and you also don't
Hmm.
have to worry about a guard edge. So you could use the tip of the blade to block essentially.
Right.
Uh, and then do you need a do lightsabers slide easily enough where you do need a guard?
No,
Um,
obviously not, because I think that's the other thing that George always said is they're supposed to like draw each other in and have like a kinetic force almost.
but
I,
also having a guard would be kind of nice too because
yeah,
it's still a weapon.
yep.
You could, like I said, you lock in, you could swing in and try to stab with it,
Well, because that's what I mean. That's what happens with against Finn. Kylo Ren just pushes it in and it's just like, oh, it starts burning him. Um,
and you have like a little switch on the
mhm.
handle because some lightsabers you could actually extend the blade and be extend the side guards.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the emitter that would change the length of the
Yeah.
blade and stuff. That's one of the things that I feel like these shows need to start dropping a little bit more of is just fun Easter eggy lore stuff like that because there not as many people read the books and comics as much as I know Star Wars would love for people to do that. They don't, and I feel like a lot of the things we've been seeing recently, like yeah, we got the Rakata, we got a Kyber crystal mentioned from Rakatan technology, we got the Kinrath. I I don't know. I know we're not going to see any more. I don't care if we see any more Jedi in Bad Batch or anything currently until we get to like Ahsoka and the big stuff. But I don't even know if I want to see a Jedi in Mandalorian. Like we could just move on and wait for the Ahsoka series to see Jedi.
So, so do you think there'll be much more Bad Batch after this?
After season two, I
Yeah.
if it is, then it's gonna have to just be the Rex and Friends Save Clones show because I don't know what else
I
they could
I
do.
don't think they're going to
Yeah, I don't know if they
because
will
I don't
either.
think it's been doing very well either compared to the other. I mean, it's not
I've
bad.
heard. I mean, I've heard most of the reviews I've seen are pretty good.
No, I'm saying the viewership I don't think
Oh,
is
you
as
think?
high. Um, I enjoying it, of course. I would love to have more.
Yeah.
It still feels to me like they're setting something up with either Omega or now with Rex in the future. So
Well, and I'm
either
fine if
one,
they want to move Omega to a different show or something, but I just don't. Yeah, I could. I would not be surprised with, especially if something happens big with Crosshair soon. The show's gonna probably end this season, but that's a good thing because Star Wars
yeah,
is not afraid to take a series and be like, all right, it's gonna be this many seasons and we're done, and we're gonna
yeah.
cut it off. We have a story we told. That's all we wanted to do.
Unless you're the Clone Wars, but
But yeah, that was meant though. That was like a cartoon filler. Literally, like every episode was not meant to do anything except for show you fights
Clone
and.
Wars though is an exception for the shows that never know how to end because it actually got better the
Yeah.
longer it was,
Yeah.
where some shows get worse when you get to a certain point, and it just. But Clone Wars actually got better the more seasons they added. The final
And yep.
season was awesome.
Oh, the final
Um,
season is
but
gorgeous.
but yeah, I think it's just it'd be kind of disappointing if they're sitting because they're giving Omega the Ahsoka Ezra treatment,
Yeah.
um, and we don't. I mean, we at least got to see more of Ezra than Omega, but and of course Ahsoka is everywhere now, which I'm not gonna complain. Um, you know, let's get more main characters in. Fill
Right.
out this whole universe.
Oh, and that's again, that's the other thing. Just we got to get away in different time periods, and they're gonna do a soft test. They're not gonna just jump immediately into Old Republic because they don't want to piss fans off if they write something wrong. Because
Well, yeah,
it's Old Republic is this
I think
sacred, don't
I think that's
touch,
what the
but
acolyte is. I think the
yeah,
acolyte is because the High Republic has kind of some aspects that are similar to the Old Republic, where it's the massive amounts of Jedi and Sith,
right,
and I think you know will the audience, how will they do if we go get back a little bit?
yep,
Will they be okay if we step away from Sidious and Stormtroopers and Order 66? Will the fans appreciate it? Yes, of course.
a lot of
You
us
love
will, but there
you
are
love the
sadly,
Mandalorian
hmm
because you went into the Mandalorian culture that's so huge fan group. There's
yeah,
so many people that are fans of the Old Republic. It's okay. You can do that, and if it
yep.
has to be through the High Republic, I'm okay with that.
But at the same
I
time,
actually I
they
think
I
I
just
prefer it better.
yeah, it's a good way to test everything, and it's new and it's exciting,
Yeah.
and it's not gonna like rattle any cages. But that's the problem with the Old Republic again.
Yeah.
Everyone wants it to be made, but they want it to be made their way that they remember. And
Yeah, that's why I think
those were
the
all
High Republic is
RPGs. It's
the
impossible.
best
We
way to
all
do it.
played a different game. Not a
Yeah.
single one of us played the same Old Republic game. We all did different
Even
things and different characters.
even with the MMO, everybody has their own experience. It's
Right.
built similar where you make your own, each class, everybody has their own, you have choices and they actually
Yeah.
affect some of the way things happen. So yeah, it's such a hard thing to step on, and there's so many good novels and
Yeah.
characters. And honestly, the Old Republic is very fantasy
Mm.
esque, where it's very extreme. Star Wars most of the time is pretty grounded at a point.
Yeah.
Old Republic is kind of that kind of like you know
King.
fantasy
It's
meets
almost like
Time of
King
the King
Arthur and
Arthur
Merlin.
story.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just grandiose legends. Darth Tenebrae, the
that's what I
Emperor,
think.
slaughtered an
I think
entire planet so we could live forever.
Nobody has any strong attachments to the High Republic enough to where if they change something,
Yeah,
I'm sure as a novel reader, if they slightly alter, which they won't, of course, because these are newer ones.
and they've
But
been
if they
working a
did,
lot on
you
them.
you you wouldn't be as upset as if they rewrote Revan or something.
Yeah,
You'd have a lot more riding on the streets. Um,
but at the same
eh,
time, this is good
yeah,
because I know the time period they're doing it in is after any of the books, even because this is like right before
yeah,
Phantom Menace almost. So I'm like, cool, that'll be
yeah.
easy.
Well, they really are, because like you said, the timeline they really are like kind of like
Yeah,
let's try it. It's a little
it's,
bit.
put your little toe over. They just
Okay,
like
we did it. We did it. We
yep,
did it.
we took the plunge. Oh, you guys liked it? Okay, cool. Because the books are like 150 years, and then 150 years again. Because there's a pre. Phase two is the prequel to the prequel. Because why not? But yeah, I think that it is a good way to kind of like push into this idea of different Jedi, different uses of the Force, more Jedi. That's the other good thing about the High Republic is it would give us a lot more Jedi, a lot more lore about the Force and these kind of things.
And that's kind of like I said they did with the Mandalorian. The first season was kind of that, like, do you guys like live action shows? Let's make sure we put something really strong
Hmm.
fan favorite theme to it and see if it works. And it
Right.
did. So they just spit it out. So
Yep.
maybe if it does good enough, they'll start spitting out a ton of High Republic and older timeline stuff.
And then they will have to take on Revan and Mitra Surik and all these other things, and they're just gonna have to do it. Rip the
Yeah, I mean,
band-aid off.
Star Wars fans love the high epic lightsaber fights, the cool Force stuff, and you get that with the High Republic.
Yeah, that's why the cinematics for the MMORPG SWOTOR game, like people love them.
Yeah,
Even the people who just watch the movies, they're like, no, those are actually really cool because they're just
yeah.
it's just epic fantasy awesomeness. Which like that's why I'm super excited for the Darth Malgus figure that's going to be in the pipeline for the Black Series because it's a deluxe. So I'm like, what all are they going to put in it to charge $45 or whatever the hell they're going to charge for it? It's going to have to be more than just him, a lightsaber, and his armor. It's going to have to be like a different head or something. But I'm so stoked for the fact that we're getting more
Yeah,
Old Republic Black
the
Series.
timelines of his head.
Right. Because I know we're, Basilishan and Malik are coming up. We have with Zalbar, eventually they're going to have to do HK-47 and Mission. I would love Canderous Ordo, but I don't want him in the KOTOR 1 outfit. I want him to be in his Mandalore outfit from KOTOR 2. I was like,
Well,
I do
I
not
mean,
want
I guess
Merc.
because we've had a couple of the Old Republic ones, but I don't think we ever got Yeah, I don't think we ever got
No.
him.
There's
We
Jedi
got
Revan, Dark Side
Salazar.
Revan. Yeah, there's only Jedi Revan, Dark Revan, and Zalbar. So eventually they got to do Mission. They got to do. I mean, you can't have Zalbar and not Mission. And they
Yeah, it's
just
weird
did.
they never
They
did.
just made Aya
No, we
Sakura,
got
so we have a
Bastila.
blue.
Did we get Bastila?
She's announced
Oh,
too. It's Malik and Bastila were
well,
announced.
I thought we had Bastila already. Did
Nope,
we not? Okay.
not in 6 inch. She came out in a line of 3.75.
It's more than some of them got.
That's more than a lot of them got, but like Darth Plagueis has a 3.75. Those are like some of the back catalogs that I've been collecting. That's why I like all of this. There's the Republic Trooper from the Old Republic, Shea Vizsla, and then Darth Malgus. Because I love the Old Republic stuff too much to not to. But, well, honestly, guys, before we get on a whole nother tangent about action figures, which we could totally do an episode on that, thank you all again so much for joining. It has been a blast just, talking at each other, talking Star Wars. Put down in the comments what you liked so far about Bad Batch. What was your favorite part of this 2-part episode? And how much did you cry when Echo left? Let us know down below. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. And tell all your friends that this is where the cool kids hang out and talk about nerdy stuff. Have an amazing rest of your evening. And as always, may the Force serve you well.
May the Force